Josh McDaniels, at 1 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast, got fired. On top of that, GM got fired. We found out the OC got fired. And yeah, there's some crazy times. Oh, and you hit 500K. There was actually a part of me, because I saw that you were awake on Twitter, that was like, I'm like half tempted to be like, hey man, you want to do like a 1 a.m. GPS?
Yeah.
There was a small part of me that was like, maybe. But I was like,
I almost made a short from my bed, but I was like, nah, it'll be weird.
Just yell at it. Just like, it's too late to get fired.
Yeah.
Raiders fans everywhere are in full celebration. And you know what? It's always, for me, it's kind of like a weird line, right? Because the last time I was like happy that somebody got fired was Dom Capers. Because like Dom Capers, Packers old time like defensive coordinator. Pettin, I was pretty happy too. But like Dom Capers, I was like, oh my God, finally, yes. And like over the years, I feel like there has been a little bit of a, hey, like this is a person losing their job, right?
Right.
Like, shouldn't like celebrate too much. But then I'm like, nah, Josh McDaniels like kind of sucks. So like someone's like, yeah, I'm gonna make a video about it, because everything, like for Raiders fans too, there seemed like this was not going to happen, right? Because the amount of money they're still gonna have to pay him for 4 additional years.
Yeah. Why are coaches' contracts guaranteed?
So,
like head coaching contracts. Like I get that there are a bunch of coordinators, positional coaches, and those guys, like you just said, when a coach gets fired, a lot of those people lose their jobs too. And those are the guys who it really sucks for. I don't know how their contracts are structured. Hopefully it's guaranteed. I don't know. Somebody let me know. But like the head coach, like there should be it should be like the 2-year out window they put in for all the players. Sure. Like coaches don't get hurt. Like they're not in jeopardy of not being able to perform like a player is. And the fact that McDaniels is going to continue to make money on this, unless of course he gets hired somewhere else, like then there's offsetting shit. I don't even know how it works, but it's so stupid. Well, and you're right. McDaniels sucks. I heard Devin McCourty talking about how like players like him, like he always really enjoyed him as a person. He wasn't in the coaching room with him, but like he liked hanging out with him. So I don't know what the actual feeling is with McDaniels and the players, but we know he ruined the Broncos, traded away a quarterback, just ditched out on the Colts.
Yep.
Goes to the Raiders, does the same thing, gets rid of a quarterback. And don't get me wrong, Derek Carr's not perfect, but we know one thing for certain right now. He's better than Jimmy G. He's better than Garoppolo.
True story.
And Urban Meyer's, the point I was getting to, that was the last person I was like, I am glad that man has been fired, because he does not seem in any way, shape, or form to showcase the traits that makes me believe he should have that job. He just seemed like a jerk. But Patricia, that was another guy nobody liked.
Oh, so I mentioned that in the reaction video because the Lions were the ones who beat the Raiders and ultimately got fired. And like they were stuck under Patricia for so long, who tried to turn him into the Patriots. And it was like a joke. So like at some point, it's like also that accountability, like Nathaniel Hackett, right?
Yeah, I didn't feel good about that.
Yeah, you don't feel good about it because you're also like excited. Seems like a cool dude. I still remember the beginning of the season. You're just like, look how cool this guy is. He's talking about his records and his garage and stuff like that.
He's just like nice guy.
He's a nice guy. And like, you know, so like that, you're just like, you know what? It's just like unfortunate. Maybe I'm projecting a little bit here. I don't think I am. But during 30 and 30, there was a comment that was made, like when we were just like kind of going around the facility, and it was kind of like talking about the difference between their previous head coach and their current head coach, and kind of saying, you know, ever since Coach McDaniels has gotten here, things are just done a little differently in terms of like communication, more like kept internal. But it was said with like that hesitation. I was like, okay, all right. So it just seemed that McDaniels, like, first of all, wasn't a popular hire amongst the fan base. What the Raiders have done over the past few years hasn't been popular amongst the fan base, including moving their team out of where their fan base is. And then on top of that, you don't have a franchise guy, right? It's Max Crosby, it's Devontae Adams, who is obviously very upset. And, you know, Josh Jacobs, if you decide to re-sign him. And it seems like he burns so many bridges with their franchise players and like also shipped out guys too, that it's just not, there's been no positives that have come out since McDaniels has gotten into Vegas.
There's no positives. And I know Raiders fans are happy today, and they should be. There's a little bit of hope now moving forward. But I am not optimistic that things will get rectified because you cannot trust Mark Davis at this point, right? Like that's the problem, in that it wasn't Mark Davis's fault that John Gruden had to resign, right? They gave him just a dumb contract, the 10-year, $100 million contract for Gruden, who had been out of coaching. That was stupid. But like Gruden wasn't a terrible head coach, and we know Mark Davis loved him. And then the whole email thing came out. He had to resign. So a lot of times when a GM or team owner fires a head coach midseason, you have an interim head coach. And part of the reason you fire midseason is, in my opinion, maybe we have somebody on the roster we can evaluate to see if they should be the next head coach. Teams don't really do that.
They don't.
But the Raiders fell into that man in Rich Bisaccia.
Yes.
What he steered that team through, what Derek Carr helped lead that team through that season, in addition to Gruden, was a reason you go, you know what? Maybe I don't need to go spend money on a guy like McDaniels, and we rock with Bisaccia for another year.
Who the players loved.
Yes.
Like universal. The guy's writing letters to every, like, loved him. And they're like, yeah, no, get out.
And Bisaccia was the weird combo of players loved him, but he was also a hard ass.
Yeah.
And that's like a nice combo with a coach,
Italian,
because like sometimes the label players coach gets slapped on a guy, and it means like he lets players be undisciplined, right? And then there are results on the field that are like, oh, this team, sure, they all like the coach, but they, you know, they're jumping off sides 30 times a game or some shit. And Bisaccia had that weird thing where like players like, he's kind of a dick, but like he's got our back and we respect him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a bizarre move, and it backfired. I am just happy that the team finally listened to the real general manager, the real team owner, Davante Adams.
I thought that he should have been the new interim head coach.
Yeah, he should have been.
Or at least offensive coordinator.